Market dynamics arise from the aggregate behavior of thousands or millions of actors operating simultaneously. To calculate the total supply in a market, we use a process called horizontal aggregation. We look at a specific price point and add up the quantities every individual firm is willing to produce at that price. When we merge all those individual supply curves together on a horizontal axis, we get one massive line, the total market supply. This chart shows the aggregated market demand in blue, crossing the aggregated market supply in red. The exact point where these two lines intersect, point B, is the market equilibrium, or Marktgleichgewicht. At this specific price, the number of units suppliers want to sell matches the exact number of units buyers want to purchase. If the price is set too high, up at P1, you can see a gap form between the red and blue lines. Suppliers produce more than buyers want, creating an oversupply, or Angebotsüberhang. If the price drops too low, down to P2, the opposite happens. We see a shortage, or Nachfrageüberhang, where demand outpaces supply. We can locate this intersection mathematically by taking a linear demand equation, say quantity equals 14 minus 2p, and setting it exactly equal to the linear supply equation, 2p minus 2, we solve for p. The result gives us the precise equilibrium price, p star, and the equilibrium quantity, q star. Market equilibrium is a mathematical gravity point. When a competitive market is out of balance, the resulting surpluses and shortages force prices to adjust until they reach this stable center, naturally eliminating waste. Finding the equilibrium price tells us where the market settles, but it also reveals how businesses extract value from the trade. Look at the green triangular area on this diagram. It sits strictly above the supply curve, but below the horizontal equilibrium price line. This is the producer surplus, or Produzentenrente. It represents the financial gap between the final market price the supplier actually received and the lowest possible price they were willing to accept based on their production costs. Every transaction inside that triangle is a win for the supplier. This surplus is a direct measure of the economic welfare captured by producers, proving that reaching equilibrium maximizes the overall efficiency of the market. Real markets do not stay perfectly still. External forces like changing consumer preferences, new competitors, or cheaper production technologies constantly disrupt the baseline. A change in the goods' own price simply moves you along a fixed curve, but when an external factor changes, it causes what we call comparative statics, a physical shift of the entire curve. The rule for expansion is straightforward. An increase in either supply or demand always shifts the respective curve to the right. As this comparison shows, when demand shifts right, both price and quantity go up. When supply shifts right, the quantity goes up, but the price is driven down. To quantify exactly how much producers alter their output in response to price shifts, we calculate the price elasticity of supply. This formula measures a simple ratio, the percentage change in quantity divided by the percentage change in price. We can visualize this ratio through the slope of the curve. On a flatter curve, a tiny vertical change in price forces a massive horizontal jump in quantity. Because the numerator, quantity, is so much larger than the price change, the supply is elastic. On a steep curve, even a large price hike results in a minimal quantity response, meaning the supply is inelastic. Consider what happens if the cost of raw materials spikes. The supply curve shifts to the left. The total quantity available drops, the equilibrium price rises, and the producer surplus shrinks. External costs directly destroy producer welfare. We can introduce a deliberate structural disruption to this perfect system, a government imposing a fixed quantity tax, or Mengensteuer, on producers. This chart shows exactly what a tax does to a market. A tax acts as an artificial increase in production costs. Notice how the original red supply curve shifts vertically upward to form a new line. The distance of that upward shift is the exact amount of the tax. By tracing the blue demand line up from the old equilibrium at point B, we hit a new market reality at point A. Consumers are now forced to pay a higher equilibrium price for a lower total quantity of goods. The tax creates a physical wedge in the market, shown by these rectangular blocks labeled D and E. This wedge splits the lost welfare. Consumers pay the higher price at P2, but producers only get to keep the lower amount at P1. To solve for this disruption mathematically, we adjust the inverse supply equation. We add the tax variable T to the producer's price, and then set that new equation equal to demand. By modeling supply, demand, and external shocks, we pinpoint where a market clears, and when interventions like taxes occur, we have the tools to calculate the precise welfare cost assigned to every participant.